All right, so games, blockchain, and token sales. Oh my. You'll notice that at least our experience was that our token sale, our blockchain project, our community building shared striking resemblance to the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so that might be an odd analogy, but it'll allow us to explore some of these relationships between, again, games, blockchain, and token sales. So this comes from our experience over at Refereum. We've got one of the largest crypto communities now and products out there. We broke Telegram a few times. We sold around $25 million worth of tokens, but we had allocation requests for around 800 million. And right now, we're just iterating our product. We're working on our tech backend with companies like Epic, doing Fortnite, some top games on Twitch, fun stuff. And these days, we're just 20 people down the street. Myself, come from a background of around 10 years in games, from everywhere from top-grossing Facebook, mobile games, to I ran an indie game co-working space for the last 3 years. I recognized a few familiar faces. Did a small stint over at Unity Analytics, blah, 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 that kind of fun stuff. But started paying attention to blockchain back in 2014 when I tried to send money to my friend in Australia, and it just got lost. I was like, what kind of crazy futuristic world is this where I'm still sending money in 2014 and it's just getting lost, right? And that's when we started looking into crypto. So real quick, raise your hands. Who's really new to crypto? It's okay, that's why we're all here. Okay, cool. Anybody doing a token sale? Want to do a token sale? All those things? Oh, see some good hands. Okay, I'll try and tailor some of the content here then. So you want to solve a problem, but traditional tech can't do it. Right. There might seem like there's no color in the world over here with Dorothy and stuff like that. You dream of a better ecosystem looking up from the Kansas sky, right? But usually these systems are more transparent, they're more equitable, and for us, that was redistributing marketing budgets. So quick context is we've tried doing this stuff in the past, but you can't do it with PayPal. There's black boxes in affiliate marketing. So Refereum is all about taking those marketing budgets that would normally be sent off to Google and Facebook that usually just kind of trickle down once those corporations take a large cut to an individual YouTube influencer, to a streamer. And so we basically redistribute those marketing budgets away from large corporations and into the pockets using decentralized tech of individual people, of individual content creators. That's what this stuff is all about, right? And so again, blockchain is a tornado. This slide's a little dark over here, but you'll get the idea. It's Dorothy spinning around and stuff like that. And I used to think that the game industry moved fast. It does, between the new trends and the tricks. But wow, crypto is even crazier than anything I've seen before, just from the technological advancements, from the gossip, from the forks, from just the blockchain industry as a whole is the craziest tornado I've ever seen. And yes, there's money in crypto, right? You also have to spend it to get anywhere. I was incredibly privileged to be able to quit my game job and actually save up enough money to start Refereum. But by the time that I paid the lawyers, I think I had like $31 in my bank account, right? So that's the amount of just so you know, when everybody raises their hands, that's the kind of lifestyle you're saving up for, right? It's like $31 in the bank account. You hope it works out. That's not necessarily for everybody. That's OK. But of course, don't worry about all that. Look at the nice colors on the slide, right? It's Wonderland, right? It's perfect. Gaming is perfect. It's a great blend. The tech overlaps. A lot of, I think the Venn diagram of people who like crypto and people who like video games is almost a perfect circle. But apply all of your virtual economy design lessons to this. Now instead of doing strictly virtual stuff, now you're also doing virtual economy design that has potentially real-world wealth. You're on the ground floor of what feels exactly like 1995, right? And that's fun. You're paving that way, just like VR, right? We're kind of establishing these best practices. Better yet, you're leaving behind decades of outdated tech. You've killed it off. We're all figuring out this forefront, like I mentioned on VR, right? Like that's the exciting part. In addition, you've probably built an amazing community of game supporters. The games industry is tight-knit. Maybe you've done a Kickstarter before, and this will sound pretty similar. So maybe it feels like home. And you're excited to begin this wonderful crowdfunding journey, right? But then the reality kicks in. Right? There's also another side of all of those great points, right? It does feel like the internet in 1995. But if we recall, we were using dial-up, right? We didn't know how to make websites. The architecture wasn't there. These were all really hard things to build on. It kind of sucked. Games do blend super well, right? That Venn diagram I mentioned earlier, but now you have to fight how to prove how you're different and you're not a scam coin for games and how you're actually solving a real-world problem that the game industry has today or maybe in the farther future. Yes, games attract all that blockchain, and so it can be really hard to kind of fight out above that. You're also indeed on the forefront, but sometimes those pioneers are the first ones to die, right? They're exploring those new passages. There's no shelter. You get shot first. Again, kind of like VR. And you leave behind that outdated tech, but now, as mentioned earlier, it's so hard to hire, both in terms of expense and just in terms of even if you can find somebody, people that can help build that new internet, right? Who can help build all these new tools. There's no schools out there. There's no traditions here. And honestly, I found that my game network, maybe your game network, who knows, the game network is going to help in some ways, and it's really not going to help in other ways. And that's something to kind of keep in mind. And that, yes, this is a Kickstarter. Maybe that feels like home, but at the same time, this is a Kickstarter on steroids, where you have to be super, super careful about security. Multiple security audits, it slows you down, right? And again, that 20-hour workday can quickly catch up to you, and you'll quickly learn that those headlines that were kind of leveling, right, where it's, oh, $50 million in 5 seconds, that was years and years of work, right? So if there's one thing that maybe some of those hands who got put up earlier take away from this is that crypto is certainly harder than it looks. But it's certainly not impossible at all, and that's not meant to discourage you. I think everybody should be checking this stuff out. Yes, it is harder, but you're here, this is your journey, and it is very much possible. And you'll get through it. So again, to keep with the Wizard of Oz analogy, of course, you'll meet people who maybe don't necessarily have too many brains. That's just kind of the reality of it, right? At this point, blockchain and games have reached this intersection where, honestly, it's kind of flooded with a lot of terrible ideas. I'm sure nobody in this room, but that's just kind of the reality of the space right now. And it's harder to get that feedback. Right, so I run huge game meetups, and I took for granted how easy it is to take your game and say, hey, play it, and get feedback right then, and everybody had an opinion. It was really good, right? That's so much harder in blockchain, right? Because nobody's really done this stuff. That experience isn't there. And so I took for granted just how easy to get that feedback is, and so that's some words of warning on there. But good advice is literally worth its weight in gold. So if you can find it, you're going to have to seek it out and try much harder than usual to get that feedback to survive. And a lot of people, and again, you'll need brains and or a heart, right? Like the Tin Man here. But a lot of people get into this, of course, to decentralize things, which is great. Nobody likes banks. But usually it's in an effort to make systems, like mentioned earlier, more fair, more equitable. And so this type of marketplace, I think, will always win out eventually. And in the future, more fair, more transparent. But for now, there's a lot of talk, especially recently, at amazing events like this, right? It wasn't always this huge. There's a lot of traders talking about how to get rich quick, and there's a lot of, oh, how do I do that latest token sale, blah, blah, blah. There's not necessarily a ton of builders. And so even sometimes I think founders can forget about why they got into it, right? And after seeing some of that money there, it makes sense, and I totally get it. Again, from that conversation earlier, going from $31 to turning down millions is a tough one to do, and I don't say that to be cool at all. There's plenty of money in crypto, but what's important here that I like to highlight is I think in this evolving new industry, integrity shines so much brighter than it usually does, right? And we know that because we're from games, we're here to build cool stuff, but all the success stories that I keep seeing are people with really strong integrity. So I like to try and offer that as a priority of a lens to use when you're going forward on some of this stuff, no matter what you're doing. And of course, you need some courage, right? There's that elephant in the room, but you have to press on when there's a lot of doubt, right? Particularly in the regulatory space, when all you can do is really try your best, follow every rule you possibly can, talk to all the lawyers, follow the rules, and then follow the rules that don't exist yet. You're following rules that you're thinking might be a good idea that might be in place 2 years from now, and you should try and enforce those things the best as you can. And a lot of founders started these companies when all these rules were much more murkier. I actually think that now is a great time from a regulatory standpoint to be jumping into crypto. Things are really settling down, even though the headlines might not see it. There's a lot more structure in place than there used to be. And so again, there was more than just tax risks on the line earlier, right? And now we're moving past that. And so you're still early, and so you'll still need courage to get through a lot of this stuff. But when you've got all those things, right, you do make it out there. There is ample opportunity, right? You get to see these things, and you see it. You get to see the potential of this new infrastructure, of these new opportunities that you get to build. And that's cool, right? And it's okay if earlier you go, oh, do I have all those things? It's not a checkbox, right? You're learning it along the way. That's fine. But you get these moments where you get to see the dream. You'll be guided by that hope and also that, again, that opportunity to build great things. But don't forget, it's still the internet. Right? And of course, in The Wizard of Oz, you get those evil flying monkeys coming down, swooping upon you, and that's still going to happen. There's plenty of that. Please, please prepare for that. Telegram is, of course, the platform of choice. There are no safeguards or regulations or features that can help protect you from some of this stuff. Watch out, because it is ripe with some of the most nastiest, just fiercest trolls that I've seen on the internet, and honestly, scam artists out there. It's also just a morale issue. No matter what you're doing in blockchain, whether you're visiting somebody's Telegram or community or whatever it is, if you're working with a team, sit them down. Again, that's that morale issue, right? Put a process in order for when people post really disturbing stuff in your communities, like who do you notify at the FBI for some of these things, right? Like it's really bad news. And so again, redo your personal security audits for everybody on the team as well. Again, I'm going to drive that home with another slide. Don't underestimate the trolls, seriously. So one of the things, going into this, it's very common in the crypto space in general, for those unfamiliar, to download an entire blockchain website or a token sale website and then put up a Google ad for it, and then people kind of click on the Google ads, and then of course it's a wrong ETH address, and that's unrefundable cash, so it's all gone. So before this, we actually put in basically text injections that we could do remotely, so that if somebody downloaded and installed our website, we could actually go in, find their domain, and post that out and say, this is a scam website. Don't send money on all this stuff. You have to be thinking 3 steps ahead of all these trolls, and that is a full-time job well within itself. Let alone the development time, for one of our Telegram bots. Admittedly, it's one of the largest in the communities, but it's pretty battle-tested. You're welcome to use it. I'm happy just to give it out. But this is going to be things like banning images, banning links. This is going to be dev resources. You're on the ground floor of something. There's nothing where you can just put in a checkbox, right? You have to build all of these procedures yourself. That always took us by surprise. So again, real quick, persevere, and you will have that product, that community, and those profits. Right? And really, you've done the impossible now, right? You've launched a product, and at the same time, you've built a massive community, and hopefully you have, again, some profits to do great things. But in a way, you'll also be back where you were. You'll be awakening from some kind of fever dream, like Dorothy did, of what was a token sale, right? And yes, you will be much more experienced, and yes, you will probably have the resources and be better equipped, but at the same time, you'll be back at the starting line, and that's okay. Go build the company. Go build the team. Go build the product, the community. Keep building it. Go build great things with great people. That journey is really just starting. So real quick to recap, and I know we have time for questions, I'm getting signaled, but if traditional tech can't solve it, right? Really think about this one. For us, that was PayPal taking 50% or 50 cents on each transaction fee. You can't do that across the globe. There was affiliate marketing is usually centralized. So if I sell, let's say 10 things, and I say, hey, I sold 10 things, and you go, no, you didn't, you only sold 2 things. I'm only gonna get paid for 2 things, and that sucks because you own all that data, right? Really think about how that blockchain can from the ground up. I worry a little bit when I see people kind of pivoting into it. So really think about that. In addition, if you can keep up with crypto time, right? So startups always pride themselves by saying, oh, we move fast. We move so much faster than regular business time and stuff. Well, a month in startup time is a year. A year in crypto time. That's how fast this stuff is moving. That's how fast and agile you have to be. It's more than just doing stand-ups, right, for agile best practices. In addition, if you use serious brains, heart, and courage, and you keep coming back to these things, right? I know, postmortems are always like, oh, of course you should have done that. Of course you should have done this. But when you're in the thick of the weeds, you can't see the forest through the trees. And coming back to some of those principles, making sure that you keep those people close to you that could guide you through that is so important. And if you can survive the trolls and support the fans, right? Really, you should be turning these trolls, if you can, not always, into these fans. Everything from the ground up, in a way, is all around community, particularly in the crypto space. And again, if you can create the product at the same time, if you can keep your servers from catching fire, if you can be making sure that your Google Analytics is still working, that you're iterating on your product, and if you take away anything from this, know that it is harder than it looks. And if you get super lucky, then you'll be a lot further ahead than we were when we first started this thing. So again, I know time is the ultimate currency. I appreciate you spending it on me. I'm always here to help. I'm Dylan at Refereum.com. Feel free to shoot over an email. Actually, I get a lot of emails, so maybe tweet me instead at TDJ, like the Dylan Jones. And we're hiring, of course. Games, blockchain, anything, devs, product, would love to say hi. And thanks so much. I think we have some time for questions. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, let's have a round first. Thank you.
Okay, quick questions then. Anyone got any questions for Dylan? Okay, we're right over this side. Gentleman at the back. If you can say your name and your company.
Hi, my name's Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Noble Block.
Cool.
It's my last name. So. I work with a lot of companies that are trying to figure out their ICO, and I just want to hear from your experience, what's the ramp time look like for getting set up so that you're turning down money as opposed to jumping into a 30-day ICO and really panicking to hit your benchmark?
It can't be done in 30 days. People try it.
Right.
I've heard of these rumors and things like that, but it rarely works out that way. I will say some good buddies of mine, QuantStamp, Richard Ma managed to pull it off in 45 days. That's like the shortest time I've ever heard about it. But to answer your question directly, right, is like, what is that time frame? Again, that was the example earlier, right, where everything looks like it's been done in 5 seconds. Everything looks like that it's been happening in a month. But really to do this, we started off and we were planning something, and I'm happy to say, we delayed 3 times. The stars really have to align for some of that stuff. Or maybe we delayed twice. It feels like a lifetime ago. But anyway, that was at least 3 months, and then we pushed it back another 3 months. So really, I think for a smaller team, you're looking at least a 4 to 5 month process in order to start turning down that money, or whatever phrase you want to use for it. But really, and I think events are great like this, but invest in your time in that community building. This is the massive global redistribution of wealth, right? I mean, I love San Francisco, hometown for sure, but this is global economy. So really invest in multiple languages, right? In terms of your team, really doing this stuff. Think about it much more globally. And I think sometimes people think about, with Sandy Hill down in Silicon Valley or whatever it is. That world is I won't go that far, but we are moving into a place where that's less relevant, and that's really exciting now, right? Anybody can do this anywhere around the globe. But yeah, I would give it some time. It can't be done in 30 days. Give it at least 4 or 5 months. Yeah, of 20-hour days. Yeah.
Okay. Last one, gentleman in the yellow. Yeah, the mic's there.
Hi there, my name is Bobby. I work at earthzero.org, where we're building a blockchain-based virtual world like Pokemon Go. So
cool.
I come from the gaming industry as well. So I'm really curious of, since we're starting out, and what's your advice on, say, the time you spend between development and marketing, and then what's the right balance?
What's the right balance? Definitely get your MVP ready to go. I mean, I think, again, we were privileged enough to have some advisors that just really kept us on this critical path. If you want to bring somebody in, really consider bringing in a project manager to just keep you on that critical path. Just keep going. So I think, honestly, as soon as you have, depending on, of course, your company financial situation, how much runway you have, but as soon as you have that MVP, it's working. You're getting users. You're getting that data. Switch into marketing. You're in a stage right now where it's all marketing is relevant for this stuff. And again, you will get past that, and sometimes that can be really hard, especially trying to sell and do these things is not everybody's cup of tea. But as soon as you have an MVP, switch into marketing for sure, unless you want to do like a long burn token sale, and there's a few different longer conversations we can have about that. But switch into marketing. This is a marketing game, yeah.
Definitely, that's what I was going to get
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no worries.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dylan.
Cool. Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
A good balance between enthusiasm and the realities of doing this stuff.
That happens. Cool.
Okay, so thanks, Dylan.